Make way for our next speaker. He is the Executive Vice President of Products at GENBAND, John McCready.
All right, thank you very much. I want to add my welcome to what you've already heard from the other speakers. You know, in our modern world, there's nothing more valuable than your time. So the fact that you chose to spend a few days with us here it's humbling, it's gratifying, and we sincerely appreciate it. I also want to start with a quick just apology for the people sitting on the edges, because John McCready at that size is something nobody should have to see. But there it is. So we've talked a lot this morning about Candy and Fring, which are certainly some of our biggest initiatives. We do have some other stuff that's pretty exciting coming out of the labs, and I wanted to give that some quick coverage. But also wanted to let you know there's a number of breakout sessions on Wednesday and on Thursday that you can attend, as well as some demos outside. So this is going to go a little bit fast. We're going to go through a few things quickly, but so there's lots of opportunity to deep dive later on. So I don't mean to alarm you with this title. I'm actually not sure. It might actually be the next Disney Pixar movie, Software is Eating the World. But it's true that the pace of change of technology, it just continues to accelerate. It creates both disruption, opportunity for innovation, et cetera. But it's a huge challenge, you know, both for us as a vendor to you and for yourselves in your own business. So that pace of change and the ability to keep up with this march of generic technology, better and better processors, better storage, better networking, it's an opportunity and it's a challenge. It's one of the things we all have to work for. In our industry in telecom, you know, I think of three main areas where this trend really manifests itself. So first of all, the cloud. Now, I would argue that our industry, the telecom network, is the original cloud. To an end user, some service that you get you know, from somewhere else and you pay for it on a monthly basis, that's a cloud service. Centrex, if anybody remembers that, was an original cloud service. So I think our industry is well set up for this, but what's happened with the march again of generic technology and better play is that we're able to implement a lot more kinds of services in the cloud. We've seen it roll through the IT industry for non-real time, and now telecom is getting towards the point where we can take advantage of these exact same kind of innovations, where you're able to use, again, better technology, generic technology, to implement things that in the past had to be highly specialized. And that gives a number of advantages. Now, cloud is both a deployment model and a commercial model. And it's often these two things can get confused when people are talking about it. But from the commercial model perspective, again, I think our industry is really at the forefront and has been for a long time. The deployment model of cloud is the idea that you can put any applications on common hardware at a base level. And the specific standards in our industry for this are what's called network function virtualization, which Mark talked about a little bit earlier. And that really is a set of standards that the industry has adopted to allow us to really march towards this flexible deployment model and the ability to completely disassociate an application that historically in our industry was a quote-unquote box or something that ran in a special place and really no longer needs to. The third leg is SDN, or software-defined networking, which is another critical innovation in that it gives the ability for the various telecom applications to have more direct control of what's happening in the networking layer. And what that means is that as a deployment, in deployment, that you're able to put out your network with a much lower cost while maintaining or even having a higher quality of service. All of this stuff at the end of the day boils down to exactly that. How can you run your network more flexibly, lower total cost of ownership, and higher quality of service? Very basic. So inside of GENBAND, you know, we've actually been investing towards this vision and this model for more than 5 years. If you came to Perspectives a few years ago, you would have heard us talking about something called the Genius Platform, which was an internally developed way for us to implement the vision of NFV. We were ahead of our game, or pardon me, ahead of the game in terms of where the standards were, but we brought to market, brought a number of our products onto that, and that's given us a great head start in being able to come into the standardized world of NFV. Let me show just a quick video for those of you who might not know a lot about NFV.
I run a telecom network, but I'm not happy. I can connect people around the world, but my network is costly to maintain. It's inefficient and slow. It takes me forever to launch a new service, and the over-the-top companies are killing me. I've heard about NFV, SDN, and all the jargon, but what does it do for me?
Let me help, Dave. GENBAND with their ecosystem has made NFV easy. Moving to NFV with GENBAND applications gives you an efficient, agile, and lower-cost network that is carrier-grade in the cloud. By pressing a button, you can spawn new applications on demand, like session border control or intelligent messaging. Routes are easy to configure, and application capacity automatically adjusts to demand. A new service is deployable in days, not years. With GENBAND's NFV solutions, you can meet the insatiable demand for innovative and secure real-time communications and make NFV easy.
So the key from that is those three words: efficient, agile, low cost. That's what it's all about, is trying to help both carriers and enterprise take their network and make it efficient, agile, lower cost. At GENBAND, we've got a program really across our entire portfolio for NFV. We have a number of products that we're introducing this year: Session Border Controller, our Wireless Access Gateway, and our Converged Intelligent Messaging are all available this year. And all of our other products are on the path to NFV as well. And a number of the things can be seen at the demo center. One thing that's unique and specific to NFV is something called the VNF Manager, not to throw around too many three-letter acronyms. So Virtualized Network Function Manager. That's the one thing that's different. All your applications, let's say Session Border Controller, really function the same way, whether they're NFV or whether they're on dedicated hardware. It does the same things, you manage it with the same EMS, etc. What changes when you go to NFV is now it's virtualized, it's in a cloud, you can't go point to a box and say, there's my SBC. What this VNF Manager does, and it's across our whole portfolio, is it gives you that ability to control and manage those various virtualized elements. So it gives you both effectively a scale up, scale down. I need 5 more SBCs today, click, 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 I got 5 more SBCs. And it also gives you an analytics, we're building in an analytics capability so that you can see what's happening in your network and you can make decisions around what to do in terms of adding or subtracting resource, the virtualized resources in this case. This is also something that you can see in the demo afterwards. And this is also the place where if you've got a higher order orchestration layer, that ties in and can give basically effectively a direct command of your virtualized elements. So moving off of the NFV itself and onto a specific application, one of the things that we're starting to see demand for is SBC as a service. You know, at the end of the day, anything can be delivered and consumed and offered in an as-a-service model. What's interesting is as enterprises more and more are moving away from TDM interconnect and to SIP, one of the things that's required is an SBC at the premise. In some cases, depending on what kind of industry you're in, that can be an awful lot of SBCs. For example, in retail, you could have thousands and thousands of stores, and as you move to SIP interconnection, all of a sudden you need an SBC at each and every one of them. So what's cool about cloud and NFV is that it allows you to take any element and deploy it as a service. So instead of having a truck roll or a deployment and an installation at every one of those thousands of retail stores or every one of your branch offices, that SBC functionality can be delivered from the cloud. As an enterprise, you could implement it yourself, put it in your own cloud or headquarters. As a carrier, this is a service that you can offer to your customers. You can run it in your network, spin it up, down as a virtualized element, and sell it to your enterprise customers on that cloud as a service model. And that's something that we're ready to support today. And I think we're going to see a lot of things come through where different parts of the network, as they get to be software elements that are virtualized and can live everywhere, or pardon me, anywhere, that really this model starts to become available and interesting. Okay, I'm going to shift gears again and talk a little bit about voice over Wi-Fi and general Wi-Fi. We talked at the beginning about the march of generic technology and how it's making things simpler and faster and easier. And in some ways, you know, it also makes it harder to differentiate. For those who grew up in the wireless industry, you would know that the early standards, GSM, CDMA, et cetera, these were really oriented on voice and circuit switching. And of course, as data became interesting and people got smartphones and so on, data was an overlay almost to the wireless network. As we got to 3G, it became more integral, but with LTE, it's a data network. At the end of the day, LTE is just a wireless access Ethernet network, if you want to think of it in simple terms. Well, guess what? Wi-Fi is exactly the same thing. It's a different standard, it has lower power, has different characteristics, and that makes the two of them actually fantastically complementary. LTE makes sense for big distance, big capacity, big area. Wi-Fi makes sense for as a fill-in, sort of underneath that umbrella of LTE. So whether it's for data applications or for voice applications, it makes sense that these two technologies would coexist. And of course, at the end, as the end user, nobody cares. As long as they have connection, they can make their phone call, they can get their text, they can surf the web. Perfect. So voice over Wi-Fi, as that trend plays out and Wi-Fi becomes more and more important element of the wireless access network, then obviously voice lives there as well. Now, as it turns out, GENBAND has had a long heritage with security for voice coming in from outside the traditional network. We had a product called a security gateway for years that was used with femtocells. Femtocells were not hugely popular in the US, but they were bigger in some other countries, and we had some nice deployments, along with some in the US, for sure. Sprint and Verizon, for example, were customers. Now, we were able to take effectively that technology and evolve it to support the emerging voice over Wi-Fi standards. And there's a couple of different modes. We call this our wireless access gateway. But whether you're using an untrusted Wi-Fi, so you don't know whose it is, it's at Starbucks or something, then you get a security client end-to-end from your handset to the network. On the other hand, if it's a trusted Wi-Fi network, maybe a carrier's rolled out or an enterprise within its own premise, then you can have a security connection to the Wi-Fi. So there's two different standards here. One's called EPDG and the other's called TWAG, but we support them both. And I should mention, as we're talking about NFV, is that this is already an NFV-ready product. We've got a number of customers that are deploying right now. I'm expecting that this is going to be a very fast-growing area, everything around Wi-Fi. Oops, somehow I went backwards. Okay, shifting again, I want to talk quickly about our smart office portfolio. So this is a very important area. As the world has changed and everybody knows this now, you don't go to work anymore. Work is where you are. You might be working at home, you might be working on vacation, unfortunately. You can be at the office. But as companies get more spread out and people have to do their job at different times, then that becomes more and more necessary for a real unified communications deployment. And one of the critical elements is collaboration. I think everybody would agree that if you are looking at the same material together, if you're able to see each other, take verbal clues, or non-verbal clues, that's an important part of the overall communication experience. So we've rolled out a new collaboration solution. We actually work with a partner, Video, who's here in the demonstration area. And we've integrated with our client, but it's also available standalone, so that you can use the collaboration with or without GENBAND's voice over IP client. And you'll see when you go try it that the experience is really fantastic. And this is something that GENBAND, as a distributed company, we use internally quite a bit. I've got a video I want to show here as well around our Nuvia offer, our cloud UC offer, and the use of this product.
The edge is intimidating. It's new. It's exciting. But it can be scary. The edge is real, and the leap is rewarding. So, who are you gonna jump into UC Cloud with? Jump in with Nuvia Cloud, unified communications as a service. It soars on GENBAND's carrier-class technology that supports millions of IP lines around the world, and it has 5 nines uptime. So go ahead, jump into reliable and affordable Cloud UC service today. You'll be glad you took the leap. Nuvia Cloud UC.
I didn't realize you could collaborate while skiing, but that's good to know. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, also related to smart office, is we've got, I think, quite an innovative solution now around clients. Anybody who's tried to work with UC and a rollout knows that one of the challenges is deploying and managing the end-user clients, whether they're on mobile devices or PCs or whatever kind of device. This has historically been a challenge. So HTML5 and WebRTC are fantastic new technologies that can help solve this problem. So what we've developed is what we call a container version of a client. It's quite interesting in that it uses HTML5 so that you can manage the attributes of the client, the look, the feel, the features, centrally, and have them consumed just like a web page. But on your device, it actually looks more like an application. You know, one of the challenges with trying to use a client just in a browser is that your phone or your device doesn't know to wake up and do something when something happens in your browser. So what this provides is the best of both worlds. You've got a container that looks like an application. It can wake up, it can alert you, it can make those kind of functions on your device, but at the same time, it's deployed using HTML5 from a centralized spot so that you can manage it and upgrade it much more easily. And one of the critical things we've done with the client is integration with Link, and I should have mentioned earlier that our SBC is also certified with Link. So as this becomes more and more important in the enterprise, and certainly we're seeing adoption of Link, and I guess they've changed the name now to Skype for Business, you know, that's something that enterprises are building more and more into their fabric. But we believe, and I think you'll agree, that the voice solution, you know, really needs to be enhanced. And if you're a carrier, the opportunity to provide a voice solution that integrates and improves on Link is a fantastic opportunity. What it means is you can bring the power of your network, you can differentiate versus your competition in order to give the enterprise a much, much better UC experience, something more than they get from just taking what Microsoft is providing out of the box. And the two are integrated, and it's certified, again, by Microsoft, so that you're able to use the best of both worlds. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about just quickly is our session border controller, and Mark Puggaroo talked about it earlier, but we do have the announcement of our Q50 product. It's going to be generally available in August. We're starting to do trials with a few customers. The Q50 is really a very high-scale media transcoding device. We worked with a partner, Artisan, who are one of our sponsors here, to develop this product. Uses an incredible high density of DSP chips to get very, very dense, very cost-effective transcoding, both audio, video. But the other thing we've done, you know, we've developed an in-house expertise around transcoding. We opened an office in Montreal, Canada for that. And we're able to do that same kind of transcoding in a soft format. Now, obviously, that doesn't have the same scale that we have with the dedicated hardware, but it's virtualizable and can be deployed with NFV. And since we've also separated the signaling and media, as Mark talked about, that means that you can completely optimize. You can have your signaling in the cloud, you can have it in NFV, however you want to have it, and you can distribute media pops. Low scale can be virtual and soft. Very high scale, where you've got a large amount of traffic or where maybe you want to do a lot of video, you can use the dedicated product. But it all works together and can be used in a mix and match formula. It gives you the absolutely optimal deployment. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for your attention, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.